remember the first time I completely shut down in English. It was a sunny afternoon in downtown Manhattan. I was standing in line at a coffee shop, waiting to order, when a man next to me turned and said, "Hey, do you know if this line moves fast?" Just a normal, friendly question. I understood every word. I even had a response ready in my head. Yeah, it's usually quick. But I didn't say it. Not a word. My throat tightened. My tongue felt heavy. My brain, blank. All I managed was an awkward smile before turning away, pretending to check my phone. He nodded politely and looked back at the counter, and I stood there, burning inside with one thought. Why didn't I say anything? If that's ever happened to you, you know the feeling. It's not just embarrassment. It's deeper. It feels like failure. You start questioning yourself. Do I really speak English? Have all these years of studying meant nothing? Is something wrong with me? Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me back then. You are not broken. You are not bad at English. The problem is not you. The problem is the way you were taught. We're told that to speak English well, we need to know grammar. We need to memorize vocabulary. We need to pass tests. So we do what we're told. We study. We read. We take exams. But when it comes time to open our mouths and speak, nothing happens. Our minds freeze. Our confidence disappears. And slowly, we start to believe a lie, that we're just not good at speaking. But speaking is not a subject. It's not a grammar rule. It's a skill. And skills don't live in your brain. They live in your body. You don't learn to dance by reading about dancing. You don't learn to swim by watching a video. You don't learn to play guitar by memorizing chord names. You do it. You mess up. You try again. You repeat. That's how you get good. Speaking English is the same. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a native accent. You don't even need long, fancy sentences. You just need to speak. One word, one sentence. Again and again. Until your fear becomes confidence. Until your silence becomes voice. But here's the twist no one talks about. Even if you have only 30 or 50 words in English you can speak, you can have a real conversation. You can help a tourist. You can share your thoughts. You already have what you need to begin. The only thing missing is the courage to try. I know how it feels to stay silent. I know the frustration of knowing the answer, but being too scared to say it out loud. And I also know the freedom that comes from finally saying something, even something small. This is your moment. Your beginning doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to start. And if this message hits you, if a part of you is saying, "Yes, that's me," then don't stay in the shadows. Join this journey with me. I'm creating more videos like this one to help you speak English with real confidence from real life. No pressure, no judgment, just truth, growth, and your voice. So, if you believe in what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button. It's a small click, but for me, it means the world. It tells me to keep going, keep creating, and keep helping you unlock the voice inside you. Because trust me, your voice is worth hearing. I once watched a toddler named Ava trying to say the word banana. We were at a backyard BBQ in Chicago, and Ava, this tiny, curious girl with messy hair and grape juice on her shirt, pointed to a bunch of bananas on the table and shouted, "Nana!" Everyone laughed. Not at her, but with pure joy. Her mom clapped, and her dad handed her the fruit, saying, "That's right, banana." No one corrected her grammar. No one asked her to repeat the syllables perfectly. No one told her she was wrong. She didn't study English. She didn't read a dictionary. She didn't overthink. She just wanted something, and she tried. She listened, copied, failed, laughed, tried again. And that's how she learned. That's how all of us learned our first language. So why do we forget that as adults? Somewhere along the way, we started to believe that speaking English requires perfection. We think we need 1,000 words, perfect grammar, and a flawless accent before we can even try. But that's just fear talking. That's the old system textbooks, exams, pressure, embarrassment tricking us into thinking we're not ready. But let me tell you something that changed the way I think about language forever. If you know 50 words, you can start speaking. Right now. Today. You don't need a classroom. You don't need a native speaker. And you definitely don't need permission. What you need is courage. It's not about being fluent. It's about being real. Speaking is not about having the right words. It's about using the words you have. Imagine this. You walk into a grocery store in Los Angeles. A woman drops her wallet. You pick it up and hand it to her. She looks at you and says, "Thank you so much." And maybe all you say is, "You're welcome." That's it. That's enough. That's English. That's connection. But if you wait until you're perfect. Wait until you finish another course. Wait until you memorize another 500 words you'll never speak. Because perfection doesn't come before practice. It comes because of practice. I used to think I had to get ready before I opened my mouth. But the truth is, speaking is the thing that gets you ready. Speaking even with mistakes is how you grow. And that's what Ava reminded me of that day in Chicago. She didn't care about mistakes. She cared about trying. And every time she said Nana, she got a little closer to banana, a little closer to confidence, a little closer to fluency. So now, I speak with the words I know. I use simple sentences. I don't wait for perfect. I speak. And every sentence, even the broken ones, takes me one step forward. You don't need more English to begin. You just need to begin with the English you have. Because the truth is, you already speak more than you think. There was a time I truly believed that I couldn't improve my English speaking because I didn't have anyone to talk to. I lived alone in a small apartment in Dallas. No roommates. No English-speaking friends. My coworkers were polite. But outside of short greetings, there wasn't much conversation. I'd come home, make dinner, and scroll through videos about how to speak English fluently. But I didn't speak. Not really. I just watched and waited, thinking one day I'd meet the right person to practice with. That day never came. One night, out of pure frustration, I started talking to myself. I had just dropped a spoon in the sink, and, without thinking, said out loud, "Oh no, I dropped it." My voice sounded strange. My accent felt awkward, but I said it, and something shifted. I kept going. I looked around my kitchen and said, "This is a plate. That's my cup. I have a bottle of water." It was basic. It was messy. But for the first time, I wasn't just thinking in English. I was speaking it. That moment changed everything. Since then, I've spoken to myself every single day. In the shower, in the car, while cooking, while folding laundry. I describe what I'm doing. I'm washing the dishes. I'm putting on my socks. I'm walking to the store. And slowly, something incredible happened. English started to feel natural. The hesitation faded. The fear of saying the wrong thing softened. My mouth moved faster. My brain stopped translating. I didn't wait for the right moment to practice anymore. I created it. Talking to yourself might sound strange, but it works. It trains your brain to think in English. And that's the real key. Because when your brain starts thinking in English, speaking becomes automatic. It's no longer about remembering or translating, it's about flowing. Some people say, "But I feel silly doing that." I used to feel the same. I'd whisper to myself quietly, afraid someone might hear. But then I realized, no one is listening. And even if they were, so what? I'm learning. I'm growing. And most of all, I'm doing something most people are too afraid to try. I also began using a mirror. I'd look at myself and say, "Good morning. I speak English. I'm getting better every day." It felt ridiculous at first, but over time, it became powerful. I started to believe it. I saw myself, not as a student who was struggling, but as someone who was improving. Every sentence, no matter how simple, became a small victory. Speaking alone became my secret weapon. I didn't need a teacher. I didn't need a partner. I only needed me and my voice. And if you're alone right now, wondering how to practice speaking, this is how. Don't wait. Don't wish. Don't make excuses. Start speaking to yourself. In the kitchen. In the mirror. While walking. Even just 5 minutes a day. Because the more you speak, the more you grow. You already have the voice. It's been with you all along. Let it out. Let it lead you forward. And remember, speaking to yourself isn't crazy. It's brave. I used to read in English silently, just like I was taught. Eyes on the page, lips closed, mind focused. I believed I was improving. I could understand the stories, the articles, even a few novels. But the strange thing was, when it came time to speak, the words didn't come out the way I imagined. My tongue felt stiff. My pronunciation was uncertain. I sounded nothing like the voice in my head. One evening, something shifted. I was alone in my apartment in Seattle, feeling frustrated after another awkward phone call in English. I picked up a short story. I liked something simple, and warmed. I read the first paragraph out loud. My voice sounded flat. I paused, embarrassed by my own accent. But then I read it again, this time louder. The words flowed more smoothly. On the third try, I added emotion. I raised my tone where the character felt surprised. I softened it, where the moment turned quiet. By the time I finished the page, I wasn't just reading anymore, I was performing. And without realizing it, I had entered one of the most powerful speaking exercises I'd ever discovered. Reading out loud changed everything. It gave me rhythm. It trained my mouth to shape English sounds naturally. It connected my voice to my thoughts. I wasn't just seeing the language. I was hearing it, feeling it, speaking it. And the best part? I didn't have to understand every word. I didn't need a perfect accent. All I needed was the willingness to speak even if it was someone else's words. Because every time I read aloud, my muscles learned, my brain connected, my confidence grew. So I made it a habit. Just 1 page a day. Some days it was a children's book, other days a blog post or a recipe. I didn't care what it was, as long as I read it with my voice. Slowly, my pronunciation became clearer. My speed improved. I didn't pause so much anymore. My mouth knew what to do before I even thought about it. Eventually, I added something new. I started recording myself. The first time I listened to my own voice, I cringed. It didn't sound like the fluent speakers on YouTube. It didn't feel good, but I kept going. Each week, I recorded the same paragraph again. And soon, I could hear the progress not just in my pronunciation, but in my presence. I sounded more alive, more confident, more like someone who believed in their ability to speak. Reading aloud became my safe space. No pressure, no audience, just me, my voice, and the page in front of me. If you've been waiting for someone to practice with, wait no more. The page is your partner. The words are your tools. And your voice, that's the instrument. Start today. Pick anything in English. A story, a news article, a movie script. Read it once, then again, louder, then again, with feeling. Let your voice stretch. Let your mouth work. Let your fear shrink. This isn't just practice. This is transformation. You're not preparing to speak. You are speaking right now. And that's what makes the difference. You don't need more silence. You need sound your sound. And it begins with one sentence, spoken out loud. For a long time, I thought I had to wait until my English was perfect before I could really speak. I believed that fluency meant flawless grammar, the right words every time, and a smooth, native-like accent. So, I stayed quiet. I waited. I practiced in my head, but rarely with my voice. I told myself, one day, when I'm ready, I'll speak. But that day never came, because perfection was always one more step away. Then one day, something changed. I was walking through Boston when I saw a man asking for directions. He looked lost, holding a map and looking around. No one stopped. I understood his question. I knew I could help, but I hesitated, afraid my accent would make me sound less. Someone else finally stepped in, and he smiled, thanked them, and walked away. I stood there frozen, heart sinking. I had the words, but I didn't use them. Not because I couldn't, because I was waiting to sound perfect. That moment stayed with me for weeks, until I realized something that shifted everything. Speaking isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. I started listening more closely to native speakers. I paid attention to how they actually talk in everyday life. They make mistakes. They repeat themselves. They say, and, and start sentences over. They don't speak like textbooks. They speak like humans. And suddenly, I saw the truth connection matters more than perfection. From then on, I changed the way I approach speaking. I stopped trying to impress. I started trying to connect. Even if my sentence was simple, even if I made a mistake, even if my accent was strong, I reminded myself, the goal isn't to sound like someone else. The goal is to be understood, to be real, to be me. And slowly, people started responding differently. They didn't care about my mistakes. They cared about my message. They smiled. They listened. They helped. And I realized my accent wasn't a problem. It was a part of my story. It showed where I came from, what I've learned, how far I've come. It wasn't something to hide, it was something to own. If you're still waiting to speak until your English is perfect, let me tell you this. That day may never come. But today is here. And it's more than enough. One sentence is enough. One attempt is enough. And when you take that step, something inside you shifts. You begin to trust your voice. And that trust, that's the beginning of fluency. It's not just about the words. It's about the courage to speak them. It's about the moment you stop chasing approval and start choosing expression. So speak, not because you're perfect, but because you're ready. Speak from the heart. Speak with your accent. Speak with your truth. The world doesn't need perfect English. It needs real voices, honest voices. Your voice. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Say one sentence, out loud, right now. I'm learning English, and I'm getting better, every day. You don't need to wait. You don't need permission. You just need your voice. And it's time to use it. The biggest lesson I've learned is this. Speaking English isn't about being perfect, it's about being brave. Every moment of silence I once regretted became the reason I chose to speak today. You don't need more rules, more books, or a flawless accent. You need your voice, your effort, and the belief that your words matter. Speak with mistakes. Speak with heart. Speak because your story deserves to be heard. No one else can tell it like you. And if this journey speaks to you, if it makes you feel seen, understood, and inspired, please hit subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow and gives me the strength to keep creating real stories for real learners like you. Let's keep speaking together.